The remaining three notice a phone on a cart in the middle of the room. Cecilia cuts into Valentina's corpse and pulls out her intestines to use as a rope and pull the cart toward them. When Cecilia attempts to call for help, Amanda hits her and takes the phone. Outside, another patient named Parker Sears, Stephen Brand, that John had met earlier after another fake operation, comes with a gun demanding Cecilia give him back his money. Amanda knocks him out and takes his gun. John explains that he can help Parker get his money back as long as he plays by their rules. Despite John wanting Gabriella to be next, Amanda has sympathy for her since she was also a recovering drug addict. Mateo ends up going next. His trap is to force him to cut brain matter out of his head and drop it into a jar of enzymes. Once the matter is fully dissolved, a key will come out to free him. Mateo cuts his head open and tries to work through the pain. Unfortunately, he also fails to complete his task on time, and a mask shuts around his head, burning him to death. Gabriella's trap begins next. She is hung up from the ceiling by one arm and one leg. She is told that she must use a sledgehammer to break her limbs to free herself, or a radiation machine will burn her alive. Gabriella reluctantly smashes the bones in her hand and foot, freeing herself but suffering burns to her face. John and Amanda free Parker before moving on to Cecilia, only to discover too late that Parker is working with Cecilia and is her lover. She called him on the phone to get him to rescue her. Parker holds John and Amanda at gunpoint and forces them to chain themselves up. When John says Gabriella needs to be taken to the hospital, Cecilia steps on her neck and breaks it, saying she doesn't want any loose ends. She also tells John she knew he was Jigsaw and finds it ironic that a serial killer is trying to punish her. Outside, Carlos is heard kicking a soccer ball. Cecilia brings him in and forces the boy to be chained up on a seesaw trap with John, but John tells him in Spanish to not pull the lever. Cecilia and Parker activate the trap, which waterboards John and Carlos with blood. John pulls his lever so that the blood will only start to drown him. Meanwhile, Cecilia and Parker go back to the office to get their money. However, when Cecilia pulls on a bag where the money supposedly is, she activates a timer set for 10 minutes, and then Hello Zep begins to play as John and Carlos's trap is deactivated. Flashbacks show that John knew all along that Parker was in on the con, so he and Amanda prepared for him to show up and do what he did. The bag contains documents showing withdrawals from Cecilia's accounts, just as poison gas starts to fill the room while Cecilia and Parker are locked in. They both fight for an opening to breathe while the gas also burns their skin. Cecilia stabs Parker to death to save herself, just as John and Amanda warned him that she would. Cecilia sticks her head out and survives as the countdown runs out, but she can only call out to John in futility while she remains locked in the room with no way to call for help. John and Amanda guide Carlos outside as it is now morning. John then gives Carlos all the money recovered from Cecilia's scam. Midway through the credits, John has tracked down Henry with help from Detective Mark Hoffman, Costas Mandler. John figured that Henry was in on the scam, as he no longer has his fake surgical scar. John tells him I want to play a game and activates a trap on Henry's body that will cut into his stomach.